for those 10 cows a year in advance, which is really hard to do because a lot of times, we're not getting them in. A lot of farms here are processing, older dairy cows, or, you get some sort of half breed one that comes from a dairy farm, and it might not be, you know, big enough when it's your processing date. And then, you're just, it just makes farming nearly impossible.
Yeah.
And the state now is talking about it. After COVID, they saw that was a huge problem, but they're just talking. They're not going to really do anything about it. So
A lot of
it's a
talk.
huge
Yeah.
problem. Yeah.
A lot of talk.
All right. Well, I think we're all set up here. I'm gonna pause, start the recording again. So, all right. Well, welcome, folks. We got a neat discussion today. I think it's a very important discussion and a really really cool outfit that we'll be discussing. I've got Trey Wasserburger from North Platte, Nebraska. Young Katie joining me again. We're going to talk about essentially you're trying to take on the big four packers by doing your own thing. And so this is a producer owned cooperative packing plant. Is that right?
Oh yeah, yes, sir. It's a startup company called Sustainable Beef LLC here, headquartered here in North Platte, Nebraska, and it was
like the name.
Yeah, Sustainable Beef, and
yeah,
that's a buzzword today that a lot of us in agriculture use, but we don't know how to define it. And that's everyone asks me what is sustainable beef, and I tell them we're in it, we're doing it, we're defining it right now. And we are trying.
I was gonna say I was just down at the 4.6s, and they've been around for 130 years. I would say they're sustainable. Like at this point, they've sustained a bunch of shit. So like I would call that sustainable.
Yeah, 2 world wars, and an upending of who knows. I mean, there's always something going on, and we figured out in this business that the big get bigger and the little kind of go away. And I don't think that's sustainable, in my opinion.
No, I don't think so either. And we saw like a real almost like food crisis here early on during this pandemic deal. And I think I know the direct to consumer market took off a bunch, and but there was a lot of places there was no beef in the stores, and it's not that there wasn't beef to be had. We just couldn't find a place to kill them and get it to you. And the main time the packer margins and profits are like record level. And we're like $1.19 on fat cattle right now.
Yeah.
While the box beef is about $300 a pound, or $300 a hundredweight, something like that. It's a little bit of a discrepancy, and I'm a free market guy through and through, but we don't have a free market in this country, and then we don't have a capitalistic market. That's the part that people fail to realize, and I think we, as on the cattle side of things, a lot of it is to blame on us. Like we haven't kept up with marketing. We haven't kept up with the changing economy. And one of the reasons I started this show is we're waiting for somebody to tell the story for us. And then we get pissed off when they don't tell the right story. Well, it's because we don't have the right people telling the story. We tell our own damn story. And like you guys are doing, you find your own damn solution, and that's what I'm all about.
Yeah, totally. I barked up the tree for the DOJ and the USDA, and I'm not going to be biased here or discriminate towards organizations, but I've talked to all of them, and I would say in the last year we have done nothing to change our trajectory. And
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
We've thrown millions of dollars in checkoff money and everything else trying to get this deal fixed, and it's done nothing. I mean, demand's at a 10-year high, box beef unseasonably at a 10-year high, and live cattle at a 10-year low. And you're telling me that it's busting its ass for the producer. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And so that was the genesis of how this began. I mean,
Mhm.
somebody needed to, instead of going to the government and saying, help me, help me, help me.
Mhm.
We've banded a group of entrepreneurial, like-minded guys together on this project, all right here in Nebraska, that are all cattle feeders and cattle producers, and we're just gonna operate on our own time.
That's awesome. So are you guys all right, what's your capacity gonna be like? Are you open for business now, or are you still under
No,
construction?
we're very, very much in our infancy. We haven't, but we've hit this started a year ago, actually more than that. And it started with one of our founding members, Rusty Kemp, who also lives here in North Platte, with the governor on a trip to Korea promoting Nebraska beef. And I love this about our governor. He said, "Are you guys tired of your property taxes? Are you guys tired of being manhandled and price takers for the big?
Yeah,
Why don't you do something about it on your own?" And he said, "If you guys figure it out, let me know. I support you 100%."
that's
So
awesome.
yeah, away we went. Now we're working on getting through the city council with TIF financing, and which won't happen without the project. Most of the cattle are consigned. We are we with the fundraising every day capital side, we begin to add to that. It's a $400 million project, and so that is, you just don't find that under a rock. But
Yeah. Would you mind repeating that number again, just so people knows what it takes to get started?
yeah, this is a startup, first of all, that's never been done, and we're it's going to take 400 million to operate.
$400 million. So you're talking the the 4.6s sells 3 times basically
Yeah,
to pay for that.
that's funny you use that metaphor, because we laughed about that when it sold last week. We're like, wow, our building is going to cost 3 times that.
Yeah, yeah, and
Wow.
you don't even get a Boots O'Neill with it.
No, we don't get a Boots O'Neill, and yeah, the story and the reputation. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
three
great last,
three 4.6s to get started.
just to get
That
started, and that doesn't even guarantee profitability or that we can operate within those means. But with these guys, these venture capitalists that really want a part of this project, our slogan here in Sustainable Beef is right people. We got the right cattle feeders and producers behind it. Right time. These venture capitalists are saying, wow, we went to the store in Chicago or Sacramento, California, and there's no meat, and we're hearing about how this bottleneck capacity is ruining our industry, and they want to be a part of that. And then right place,
Yeah.
we're in North Platte, Nebraska, in the center of the country. We can get to each coast overnight, and we can get to each border overnight.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
500,000 head of cattle on feed in this county.
Yeah. I would imagine, just like any, flyover little town like that, because I'm from Eastern Colorado, so I know the Platte very well. It's a hard time getting people to move back there, let alone move there in general. But like people that grew up there, getting them to move back. I'm a lost member of Baca County myself. There's just nothing there for me. But when you open a plant like that automatically, just like overnight, that you're talking what, couple hundred jobs easy.
Actually, we're talking 875 new jobs.
That's awesome.
Yeah, with 75 of them being managerial, high ranking, and they're going to pay over 75,000. And that's our message going forward. I was raised in northern Wyoming on a family ranch, and two things in agriculture we do out here in the Midwest. When you're born, we flip a coin. If you're a boy or a girl, the boy stays. And then guess what? In my case, we flip the coin again if you're the second boy.
Yeah.
And one of you stays and one of you goes. I'm that second son.
Yeah.
And this creates, and I love this. I have 2 daughters and 2 sons, and some of the best meat salesmen in the industry are women.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They rule. The women have a huge part in the packing industry. And this would be a place, I don't want my daughter out there running a feed truck too bad.
Yeah.
But I am sure like her, whining and dining and sharing our story to people around the world and trying to sell our meat. I love that. And
Yeah. That's great. And that just, it adds to the story, and that's the biggest part of the beef industry that's missing. And the Beef Council, the checkoff program, it was a great idea in theory. But when it's designed to promote US beef, but it doesn't even have to be US beef that it's promoting. And you can't even begin to promote live cattle. It's just the end product. And it makes sense when you're coming from the big packing side. It really makes sense. But when you're coming from our end of the deal, I just refuse to pay checkoff dollars. I'm not going to. I don't trade in a lot of cattle, so it's not like I'm getting in a big bunch of trouble here. But when the time comes, I still will not. I don't believe in it, and it's not it's just like tax dollars. It's another tax.
Yep.
And it's handled just like the rest of our tax dollars. Nobody knows where the hell it goes. It doesn't benefit the people paying them. It always benefits the people on the receiving end. And yeah, I love what you guys are doing. Man, are you looking at building a branded beef, or are you just gonna say this is producer owned beef?
So once again, that's a lot. I get two questions about this project, and one, we'll get back to it. One is who's going to run it, and second is who's going to buy the beef. Because those are two things that people in agriculture have really no knowledge or experience in, and it's a huge part of our industry. So a part of this, we're already building kind of a blockchain technology where producers will be able to, at that startup phase, you can invest in the plant on the capital side and own a percentage of the plant, or you can commit cattle to the plant, fat cattle to the plant. And if they're home raised, kind of a gap 4 situation, you can put an EID tag in their ear as a calf, and we'll be able to track that calf all the way through the supply chain, all the way to the shelf with a QRC code, where someone will be able to take that soccer mom will be able to take a picture of that prime ribeye steak, and it'll go back to somebody's ranch in the Sandhills. So we are developing that now as we speak.
That's awesome. So are you looking for I'm like, as regional and North Platte, like you said, you're right there in the middle. So you're what, an hour and a half drive from Wyoming. You're not far from Kansas. You're very close to Colorado, Montana, all of that there. So you've got a good supply of cattle, if just getting people to send them to you. And I think you never know, because we bitch about vertical integration, and like, we're not there, and I don't think we'll ever be there on the cattle side of things. But there's a whole lot of old school handshake deals that they made way back in the day, and now these ranchers are on, like, their genetics are driven by what the packer wants. And so I think just having that other option out there you're gonna have plenty of cattle.
Yeah, I get that a lot too, Trey. I get a lot of progressive, like-minded guys that sign up instantly, don't even think about it. And then I get a lot of guys that think on it and say, Trey, I just don't want to be a part of vertical integration. And I say, my response to you is, you are a part of vertical integration. You're just not getting paid for it.
Yep.
The packer doesn't want our job, and we're not trying to be the big 4. The pie there's only so many, we're not trying to take a piece of the pie. We're trying to make the pie a little bigger. And this will be a mobile plant, and we call ourselves an athletic plant. We're going to kill 1,500 head a day. We're nowhere near 20, 30,000 like the big 4. And we're going to try to kill all blockchain technology eventually. And we're going to be able to track that carcass all the way through the rail to the box. And they're a big monster. When you kill 5,000 or 6,000 head, they're volume, and we're just trying to create a piece of the pie that doesn't exist today. Not take
Yeah.
some of theirs. We want to just make the pie a little bigger.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of thinking it, because the the culture that we live in and the administration that runs everything, they view like wealth as a finite resource. And like, if that was the case, you know, we would still be hunter gatherers. But
Yeah.
wealth is created. I mean, wealth is created through technology and innovation, and you know, and sometimes innovating can be just like going back to basics, like it seems like you guys are doing. I mean, you're moving forward with the blockchain, which is awesome, but at the end of the day, you're giving them Nebraska, Wyoming, Montana, Colorado beef. It's one of the oldest products out there, and we do it pretty damn well here in the United States. And the beauty of it is, like you said, you're going to be able to track that carcass, which replaces the need for mandatory country of origin labeling, because you guys are doing it on your own because it behooves you to do so.
Yep.
And that's what I love. I love market-driven solutions. Like, we don't need the government solving this for it. They can't solve anything except how to take more of our money.
Great.
So, so, yeah, I love the market-driven solutions. That's awesome. So, what's kind of the timetable for being in full operation?
We hope to break ground, and we got this group together a year ago, and we have hit every deadline that we've set forward. So that's
awesome.
really awesome. Yeah, for a startup. And our next deadline is September 1 to break ground. And we have to hit that. And another slogan we use around here is "We will not wait," and we will not. The time is now. And if
we're burning daylight.
Yeah, you're burning daylight. Yeah, and if we want to work with people that are excited and enthusiastic about this project, and we won't wait for you. And because this industry won't either. And the time is now. And after we break ground September 1, it's going to be about 14 to 16 months of construction. We're turning an old city wastewater lagoon site that's abandoned. It's literally worth nothing to the payrolls, and we're turning it into. We got our economics feasibility study back from Dr. Ernie Goss from Creighton University. It's a $1.1 billion impact for the town of North Platte with a B.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
With a B. And like our project at 5:00, you know, one of the big four, that money hits a vault and a wire, and it goes global. And like if you want to talk about your checkoff money not coming home, how about the billions of dollars leaving rural Nebraska right now and don't come back?
Yeah, that's
change that.
That's amazing, man. That's
if you want it huge. If you want a general, I go through the cattle and I go through the logistics of it, but at the end of the day, when you're creating $1 billion impact for your community, which will be regional, that's something that you can't ignore. And you know, after 16 months, we hope to be kind of processing cattle probably January of 2023 is our plan. And
nice.
Like I said, David Briggs, the CEO of Sustainable Beef, has hit every timeline thrown at him so far, and we're working with a great team of ex-Cargill executives. John Keating was the CEO of Cargill for a long time, and Bill Rupp was the CEO of JBS, and they've joined up, and they've really kind of shepherded us around. And I talked to John Keating this morning, and these guys are willing to share they have over like 160 years knowledge in the packing industry between those five.
Wow.
Yeah. We're also working with the head engineer, ex-head engineer of Cargill. He's building our plant. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I knew nothing about the packing industry, but I knew that there was somebody out there that did, and we went and found them and hired them. And
that's awesome.
So without them, without the town support, the city support, and his local leadership and the Cargill team and just having producers that, you know, were finally just ready to make a change, there would be no project, and it all is working together. And man, it's a huge project, but it's and there's a lot of myriad of issues we deal with, but we all got the same dream and goal, and it's been rolling ever since.
Yeah, well, man, I've been pounding the table for well, I've been at this show for just coming up on 2 years, and kind of the whole time I've been saying that it's like we have got to stop playing the victim. I mean, like, yeah, we've been victimized plenty. There's no doubt about that. But okay, we let people know we're being a victim, but that doesn't do us any good. Like, awareness is one thing, but where's the action? And there's been very little action, just a lot of bitching, and like I got involved a little bit in like the fair cattle markets push. Was it 2 years ago?
Yep.
And I thought it was a great idea that Pat Goggins had. And
Joe.
then yeah, Joe Goggins, I guess. And it just turned into an absolute shit show on Twitter, which it always does. I don't know why anybody continues to use Twitter for any form of meaningful communication, but it just, man, it showed. I view the cattle market a lot, or the cattle industry a lot like the Libertarian Party. Like, everybody's got some really good ideas and nobody's on the same page.
Yeah, we definitely pull the wagon in different directions. I mean, you'll go talk to the CEO Colin Woodall at NCBA, and then you go talk to Bill Bullard in the same day.
Oh man!
And if you remove their nameplates, you wouldn't know which one was standing for who. But they can't even sit down and break bread. I'm like,
I know it. Well, and then you got like this USCA, this like, hey, we're a little bit like both. Hey, we're over here, and I just like. I forget the scripture verse, but it's like, if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth, and that's how I view the USCA too. And that's not, I guess, nothing against them personally. I was not impressed with any of them. And
I'm a fan and I'm an advocate for change, and I'm a member of all organizations, but you have to produce me something for me eventually. NCAA came out last week, like, hey. It was your annual. We really like these ideas, but we're not going to support it. We're going to go back to the drawing board. I mean, that was their conclusion to this current fiasco we're in. We'll get back to that.
Well, and they keep saying that if you're not at the table, you'll be on the plate, and you don't have to work with the World Wildlife Foundation. You don't have to do that. I don't care if you're at the table or not. You can get up and walk away from the damn table too. I don't know if a lot of us cattle people are pretty big fans of Reagan. He was not afraid to just step away from the negotiating table if it wasn't going the right way. And
I heard a thing the other day is shut the gate.
Yeah.
Eventually shut the gate and just walk away. And
yeah.
I'm like,
yeah. At some point you got to cut your losses, and yeah, you're not going to get anywhere with the World Wildlife Foundation when they are pushing a vegan diet. They don't want you at the table either. I can guarantee you that. So it just, man, like, know your audience, I guess. And especially when you got all these producers paying dues to you, and they're not getting anything back from it. You get a hell of a convention every year. And RCAF, I don't really know what you get. I guess you get bragging rights, maybe. Same with USCA. I don't know what you get from them. So
I told them all this too. I've told them all that you guys have helped really propel this project. I said, people are tired of paying you money without seeing results, and eventually they're going to get sick and tired of it, and that money's going to go somewhere else. And this group was created by people that were tired of waiting for the government or the government organizations to get us out of a hole that we dug ourselves in. So we just put the shovel back in our hand and we started filling it up.
Yeah. I did a rebuttal episode because I interviewed Bill Bullard, and I interviewed what was it? It was John Robinson, I think, from NCBA, and then I interviewed USCA's representative as well. Their kind of spokeswoman, and Then I did a rebuttal episode, and my rebuttal episode had more downloads than all three of the other ones.
Yeah.
And because I was just like, Bill Bullard really got angry at me when I said, you guys are basically a union. And he's like, well, no, legally we're not. Yeah, legally you're not. But essentially that's what these trade associations are. They're just ineffective unions. So why continue to pay dues? And
have you ever sat down with a producer and been like, and our family here in North Platte, we will produce the bull that will produce the calf, and then we feed it all the way through, so we own every, and then we'll raise the feed that goes with it. So we're very, very correlated, and we get to everything damn near to the plant. This is just another hedge to get there. But I deal with we sell 300 Angus bulls a year. So I deal with a lot of grassroots producers. And have you ever sat down or went to a branding or went to their shipping and heard, man, I'm just so proud of that fill in the blank organization. I mean,
not a one time.
Never. I've never heard that ever.
And you'll hear about outfits like yours, like, man, that bull sale was man, I thought I was going to be in there for one of the real good ones, and man, they just went high. But man, those guys they're putting out good bulls or something like. You'll hear that all day long, but I've never once heard anything, like, boy, I'm proud to be an RCAF member, NCBA member, any of that. I just never. When they've ever brought up, they're just like, I wish, man, I hope they're doing something good. And I don't know. So it's like the old Will Ferrell deal. What's he doing back there? I never know what they're doing.
Well, you get a lot more questions of what is my checkoff dollar doing, instead of, man, that checkoff dollar, was really bringing it back home. What do they say? 11 times the money or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't hear it. So that's the foundation of our project. And, we're trying to do something that's never been done, but it's very doable and the timing is right. So, my family needs it. I mean, for selfish reasons, we need to kind of control our fat cattle. And we own them for a year and might lose 100, but our packer will make 900 and own them 48 hours after a 48-hour chill. And man, I just like to have a little bit of that, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's it's hard to hate the big guys for what they're doing. It's working for them. I hate what they're doing, but you kind of got to respect the game. they
totally.
They do it well. So,
like you said, this is a capitalistic society, and nobody's done a better job than the big four. And we need them, and I congratulate them. To kill that many in a day. To hit that 150, 60,000. That's a lot, and that's something we can't do, and we couldn't do it without them. But they're dang sure they'll swing a stick.
Yeah.
And like we found, Kate said it earlier about this labor issue. I mean, with this current administration, I had no clue. I have been so humbled how an administration can change how people go to work in such a short amount of time. I tried to get we're breeding a bunch of heifers this afternoon, and my guys are, it's May and we're tired. I went to Dunkin' Donuts today to get them some donuts, and the lobby's closed on a Sunday morning because we don't have enough labor. And our plant, and John Keating told me we visited a plant in Idaho a couple weeks ago, and they were 100. They're very, very close to ours, the same contractor, same engineer. It's the new CNS plant in Jerome, Idaho, and we're working very closely with them and how to change what they like about this, what to change about that. But they were 100. They had 450 employees, and they were short 150.
Holy shit!
I mean, that plant can't run any tougher, and where they're making $900 a head right now, these packers are doing all they can. But like we figured, this is an interesting concept. So one of the head cargo guys told me, Trey, we used to be able, if you didn't show up for work, this is a year ago, okay? During COVID, during the heat of the pandemic, people were dying. I get it. And so they were scared. But last year, we didn't have the labor issues we did a year ago. We didn't have a vaccine, and most of them, a lot of us have gotten it. But one of the head guys at Cargill told me, Trey, we used to have a no show up policy. If you didn't show up, you were fired. And they'd go down the road. Sterling, Greeley would go to Fort Morgan or back and forth. They just trade a lot of hell. Today, not only can they not do that because they need them so bad, but they figured out that if we have a kill on Saturday, those guys don't show up on Monday. And he said it wasn't this way a year ago, but they figured out through administration benefits that they can make just as much sitting at home, and they're using COVID as an excuse.
Yep.
COVID isn't the problem. COVID is not the problem.
No.
It's our society today.
Yeah.
Put up to work.
Yeah, it's well, and everybody gets in their camp, and like, either Trump can do no wrong or Trump's the devil. And there's a whole lot of area in between those two, and the truth is somewhere in the middle there. and man, it's just amazing. And you can bitch about the Democrats all day long because they have been awful, but you still gotta say at the end of the day, at the end of Trump's office, most of the country was locked down. We were on the verge of economic collapse, and Trump did very little to stop that.
Mm-hmm.
He bitched a lot, but he took very little action to actually fight back against any of this stuff. And we got to stop looking to individual people to do this and look inward. Like you got to take care of your own. And this is what I really like about this project is because you see you have a lot of skin in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so if this thing blows up in your face, your family's probably going to be looking out. I mean, you seem like a pretty resourceful guy. I'm sure you'll land on your feet, but it might be a long fall to hit your feet, and
oh boy, you couldn't have said that any better. I told the guy, a venture capitalist last week, who was kind of wanting to play hardball.
Yeah.
And I said, sir, this is my livelihood, and I can't go back to normal. Mm-hmm. If you think I can call the Big Four and beg for mercy, those days are gone.
Yeah.
And I'm on the front page of the North Platte paper today.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I've got that coverage, and 90, just as a typical deal, 90% are waiting to watch you fall on your head as want you to succeed. And so, we've put our necks out, and I commend the people that have helped with the project and are getting behind it, because it's fear is the ultimate motivator and the number one obstator for failure. And it's no different in this case, but that government will not help you. I mean,
no.
Tweeting Trump. I have found out some things about Trump with the packing industry that I did like. He was calling John Keating when he was at Cargill saying, do not close these plants. We need these plants. He was calling him weakly.
Yeah.
And demanding those plants stay open. But I don't care who you are, that last administration or this administration did nothing but change our trajectory. We have to do that. That's our job as producers, in my
absolutely.
opinion.
And that, whether that be finding a way to get him killed, marketing, whatever, that's what's frustrated me so many times is, and I'm sure you hear it as well, this is what Granddad used to do. Well, this is not Granddad's time anymore. I understand. And it's not even talking down on your granddad. It's a different time. You've got that way just might not work anymore. I mean, we can all agree that moving cattle a horseback is the best way to move cattle, but from there things have changed a bunch. And your granddad used to doctor screwworms too. We don't have to do that anymore. They used to have to worry about blackleg. Well, we got that covered, but there's other problems that arise, and like water, like that's a big issue that a lot of people are not paying near enough attention to is the water. And I don't know. There's it's
the most expensive things in agriculture. That's the way Dad did it.
Yeah, and it might have worked for him, but it may not now. And that's like, you have to be able to look and say, like, what can I change? instead of just, I mean, definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And
it's a different world today. My wife's grandpa used to deal with, they run the feed yards. He used to deal with 16 packers.
Yeah.
16. Do you know how many I have today that I might sell fat cattle to? Two. Two. And one is a last ditch resort because they need the cattle and we're 90% choice and prime. So they'll take them. That's the only premium that saves me today, I think, is our cattle are good enough that they'll take them, because a prime's worth $50 a hundred. But if we didn't have those high marbling cattle, I wouldn't have a home for them. And it's just a different world today. It is.
Yeah, it is. And so I guess, can you explain blockchain a little bit? Because I'm not I know a little bit about it. I know enough just to sound stupid, I guess.
I agree. When we started this project, so we're working with a guy, Steve Polsky, who's an old Cargill exec too. And he is a blockchain. That's kind of his gig, is blockchain. And we found, so this is, my cell phone's sitting right here, and somebody's listening to this conversation and mining your data and putting it together. And, I might get on Facebook here in an hour and there'll be something about, an ad we just talked about, an RCAF ad will show up or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And today, every meat case in America has all kinds of cameras that are mining data to see what that soccer mom, how she reacts to price, how she reacts to marketing and packaging, and where meat sells best, up high on the shelf or down low or right in the middle. And there's data scientists out there that are always demographically putting our consumers together and making it better for the retailer. And we have found since the pandemic, before that it was happening, but the pandemic accentuated it. And that is that, I don't want to use the word millennial, but that age group, that soccer mom, the kind of late 80s, early 90s mother is shopping with her eyeball, and she will always, and she's not, our mothers used to shop for price.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my mom would go in there and those little bastards, they can have, they can eat this.
You're not getting Fruit Loops. You're getting fruit rings. Getting fruit rings.
Exactly. That's what our mothers did. I don't even think that generic stuff exists today. Like I went to a soccer game yesterday and the fruit snacks said all natural organic. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Well, you can't even get generic fruit snacks.
I know it's, and even the generic ones will say all natural organic too.
Okay. Well, this is some brand I'd never heard of, but it had organic on it. I'm like, okay. And so meat has changed the case. And so we've found that even just ad signaling, like a little, like green grass on the packaging helps it. Like they are totally visual. And we think with ours, we're going to be able to not only track the calf all the way through the supply chain and where it's been, but we're going to be able to take it another step further and actually track the bull that sired the calf all the way through the supply chain. And we think that soccer mom will see her cell phone and pull up that QRCA code and track us to a ranch in the Sand Hills, or the Thunder Basin grassland in Wyoming, or the the Beartooth, and wherever. It's never been done, but we think that can be done, and we think our consumer wants that.
Well, and for the producer that on the other end of that QRC code, like, you better have an Instagram profile too.
Yep. I mean, we've learned that just in the bull business, how visual. I'm selling bulls all over the country today to people I've never met that I've talked to on Facebook Messenger. Like I go to deliver their bull. I don't even have their phone number. I mean, that's how the world communicates today, through social media. And I don't know if you guys saw our sustainability beef video, but we had an ad agency out of Austin, Texas, create this video for us. It's 10 minutes long. It tells our story. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, she did a beautiful job. And it's got us in front of some huge players in the venture capitalist side just on a 10-minute video. And which I love about this, she's young and very talented, and I'll send you guys a copy of the video, but she's now has contracts with Yeti, Dickies, and Carhartt. I mean, this project's already creating economic stimulus. I mean, look what it can do for people, and it changed our producing editor's life. And just one video, what can it do for the beef industry?
Yeah, it's crazy, and like there's I know a lot of people are really hung up on this, like like the Bill Gates and the factory made meat stuff. I don't see that being a huge issue, because at the end of the day, like when somebody's like, do you want a steak or do you want a steak we made in the lab, or a synthetic steak? They're just like, I'll go with the steak, like the real stuff. I think that's going to be everybody's gut instinct. And 95% of the world eats meat.
Yep.
95% of the US eats beef. We don't have to convince them to eat beef. Like they already do. We just have to change the messaging a little bit.
Totally. I just got done reading a book, The Sacred Cow, which is basically about regenerative agriculture. And it doesn't talk about, in the 80s, beef demand was on the decline, and that was terrifying. And look what happened to the 80s, 15-20% interest, and cattle, being pounded up. We're not there today. We're at a record level of demand. So how do we not only keep that, but get better? And our story is the answer.
Yeah. I 100% agree. And who's the better to tell our story than us? Because we know the story. And I've said a million times that I'd rather talk to old cowhands because they have the best stories, because they've seen the coolest shit. That's how it always is. And like any old rancher at a coffee shop, if you get him to talking, you'll hear like so many good stories, and about how times are tough, or boy, that one year when we had the big rain and everything worked well. Like there's always some story that you can glean out of that, and people love to hear it. There's been 1,100 people that downloaded the first episode that I did with Boots O'Neill, just because people want to hear about that. And it's and me, I'm just like a little kid listening to an old man. That's exactly what I am. And that's why I keep doing it, because it's interesting.
Yeah.
And people love it. And it's it's just the opportunity is there. We just have to take it.
Yep, I agree. I think which I love. Agriculture is full of people, mentors that are older and been through the trenches. And the best part about agriculture, and this is not that way in other industries, the past generation in agriculture, if you show a little, intuition, and hard work, they'll give you all that information for free. Boots O'Neill, he will pass on everything he knows. Bill Rischel, the guy, the 50-year breeder that we bought the purebred deal from, still today will answer his phone and answer any question I got. And it's for free.
Yeah.
No other industry shares their secrets like that.
Yeah. And like my dad is one of the most well-versed men on planet Earth as far as groundwater rights in the state of Colorado. If you got any questions, he will answer the phone and he will talk your ear off about it, and he'll tell you what's wrong, how to fix it, and what he is doing to get there. There's people like that all throughout this industry, and you're right, that is what makes it unique, because they're not going to charge you for it. They might even buy you a steak dinner and tell you about it. It's a better chance that you're going to come out ahead with a full belly than you are going to pay for it.
And that is so rare and so valuable.
Yeah. And we're missing the forest for the trees, by calling up the daddy government to fix it when the answer is right here in front of us. We have one of the greatest marketing tools that has ever been created in social media. And like I said, all you got to do is find somebody to make it look good. And like, I don't know why people like to look at this, but people watch the videos. Like they listen on podcasts, but people still watch the videos. I don't know why, but like they do. So if that's what they do, use it.
What humbles me so much, and this, we're going through an epic drought, and we're seeing, cost of gains in the feed yard at record highs, and we're at a 10-year low for cattle and record demand. I mean, but at the end of the day, what I will take away from this project and the amount of conversations I had with people outside the industry, there are billionaires that want our life.
Mm-hmm.
They want to have the nice set of Angus cows out there on the green grass and ride a good horse through them. That is their goal as a billionaire, to have our life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we can't take for granted. And if we want to continue to have it, we got to change.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that don't mean you have to change your entire outfit, but you're going to have to change your entire outlook for sure. Like you don't have to change your day-to-day operation, but you're going to have to change your outlook on the industry as a whole and how to adapt, because if you don't adapt, you die. That's it.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more.
Don't
change your outfit, change your outlook. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because you can take it. I'll use it as you will. That's
good one.
But and I've speaking of these like buzzwords and stuff. Like I love the sustainable, because it's just a shot at the whole buzzword culture. I love that. It's exactly. It is a very, very unique troll, and I appreciate a good troll. So
yeah, totally.
Hats off to you. I love it. I think we need to do something with the natural term too, because beef is natural. It is a natural product. I don't care whether it's hormone free or antibiotic free, whatever. Beef in and of itself is natural. Mm-hmm. And I think that could become another, like there's got to be something around that, because it's just a better way to educate the consumer, because the consumer is concerned about all these harmful side effects of drugs and stuff. And we got to listen to them. And, there was a huge outcry about the hormones, and for as much discussion about it, even if it is proven to be safe, which it has been, people don't like it. And you know what? We've done a good enough job with genetics. We almost don't need those. Like we don't need them. And now it's like, it's becoming more of an incentive not to use them.
Yep.
And the genetics is there that you hardly see a difference anymore.
Yep. I think in our lifetime, man, I just think that I see more and more all naturals offered every year, and the premium gets higher and higher and higher from the big four. In our lifetime, we will see the majority of the cattle go all natural.
Well, I think so too, and I think that's a market-driven demand. I don't think they'd be doing it if the people weren't demanding it. And so, whether we like it or not, that's what the people want. We can give them what they want or not, and if we don't, they're not going to buy it. So let's give them what they want.
If they want a purple polka dotted Angus bull, I'm going to give it to them.
There you go.
This is no different. And I think the all natural deal just continues to pick up steam, and it's what our consumer wants. And so we're going to get it.
Well, and it makes your job a little harder on the producer end, but if it's worth it, anything that's worth anything is hard. So
adapt.
So I mean, that's what we're good at. We're good at working hard. We might not be good at telling our stories to the world, but we're damn good at working hard. So just if that's how the world's going, that's just how it's got to be.
Yep, I agree. I can. The first thing that the Cargill team asked us, they said, Trey, of these 400,000 head you're going to harvest annually, how many can you make NHTC, non-hormone treated cattle? I'm like, maybe 10%. They said, that ain't good enough. We need they're wanting the opposite. They're wanting 90% NHTC, because that is what the retailer and the consumer is calling for.
Yep. Yeah, it's and like we say, the genetics are there. We can do it without the hormones. So that's the less cost on our end. Those Revlor XS, that I don't know what it costs nowadays. I haven't done a med order in a while, but they used to be about $10 a implant. So that's
14 now.
14. Yeah, so that's $14 a head you're saving. I mean, you might have to spend a little bit extra on feed, but the premium outweighs that extra feed cost. So
yeah, an implant, they say on data shows that it makes you about $40 a head, an implant.
Yeah.
An all natural carcass today, I can contract to the big four for $275 and $300 a head. Now I gotta pay it. I gotta feed it a little bit longer, and it costs a little bit more because they're all natural. But I mean, $40 for the implant or $300 for the carcass.
Yeah,
there's some margin left in those, and and every year when I started feeding cattle, it was $175 a carcass, and in 6 years we've jumped up $125 a head. They're wanting them, and they're calling.
Yeah.
So we as producers need to supply what they want, and it's not a big change.
Yeah, it's really not. And if you think about it, at the end of it, it's a little bit less work initially, and then you're going to hold them on feed a little bit longer, but the payoff's a lot bigger.
Yep.
And
my goal is to make this entire plan.
And like every cow producer has got a tiny little bit of hippie in them where they don't like a whole lot of chemicals, So like if we've all ate hormone treated beef, and it's fine. Yep. But there's a lot of people they like the milk from their own cow or something, and a lot of producers are like, well, there's just the same thing out there in the consumer world. They might be yuppies, but they got those same concerns about big corporations and toxic chemicals and everything. And that's something everybody should be concerned with. And it's our job as producers to like, hey, this is a natural product. It's beef. It's the most natural there is.
And as consumer trends continue to change, you hit up on it perfectly. One of the big fours has 38 different branded beef programs because they don't want to put their corporation name on it.
Oh,
it's Sunny Hill, or
it's
Live Better Beef. I mean, they've figured out that slapping the corporate America globalist corporation on there isn't getting it sold.
Yeah.
How many times do you walk in there and you see that steak that has Tyson on it?
Mm-hmm.
It's all American beef, or it's got the CAB logo on it. They've even figured that out.
Oh yeah.
And we're going to do the same thing. I mean, but just because we're educated about hormones in our cattle, our consumer is not.
No, not at all. And I've just even my good buddies from college, when they thought feedlot, well, you're just riding around, doing cowboy shit, which we are, but like there's a whole lot of science and stuff that goes into to feeding your cattle. And like the antibiotic things, that's another one. Like people think we're just shoving antibiotics down their throat. And no, that stuff's expensive. It's really expensive.
I don't want that to happen. Yeah.
And it's just like when you get sick, antibiotics is your last resort. You try everything else first, and that's the same thing with cattle. It's exactly. And I try not to speak for any of the other meat industries because I don't know enough about them, but there's a lot to the cattle business that I don't like, and most of it has to do with these big corporations. And it's not even that they're bad companies. It's just they at the top don't know what actually goes on the ground. And something like this, where it's a producer cooperative, I think that's your best shot as a producer to make sure you're taken care of when your cattle go to market, whether it be as a weaned calf or a fat steer. When somebody on the other end knows what you went through to get it there, they're going to take a little better care of your cattle. And, I think this is the way to go. If we want to save the beef industry, we got to have, 10 or 20 of sustainable beef, under a different label, doing the same thing down in Texas, out here on the West Coast. We need, and it's good for the country as a whole, because now our supply chain is not quite as fragile. We found out the supply chain is very fragile. It's very efficient when it works, but when you throw a snag in it, man, shit comes to a screeching halt in a hurry.
And that's fixable.
Yeah. And like you said, there used to be 16 packers that you sold cattle to. Well, we need to get back to that. It'd be cool to have 40 different bidders. Yeah. And I'm assuming you guys are going to be doing a lot of cash bidding for your cattle, because you're going to have to.
Yep.
Everybody else is contracted elsewhere.
Yep. Yeah, right. And yeah, we're going to be on the cash market, and we're going to have as competitive a grid as we can. I don't know about anybody else. I can't speak for other producers, but how cool would it be to, have your ranch, invest in this plant, consign cattle to it, and raise those cattle all the way through, and then hear back on Instagram from some mother in Phoenix, Arizona, or in Houston, Texas, or Nashville, Tennessee, that on Instagram, hey, we just enjoyed your steaks, we love it, we'll be back.
Yeah. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we have tough days and droughts and pandemics and plagues and you name it. We don't ever see the credit of the consumer experience. And this would revitalize agriculture totally.
Yeah, I think so. And I've said it many, many times, but that we have the greatest marketing platform the world has ever seen right at our fingertips, literally at our fingertips. And you don't even have to be particularly good at it. You can post a picture of a cow and a sappy story, and guess what? It'll get shared around.
Yeah, 1,000 likes, 10
yeah.
shares.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane, and
it's free.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's there. It's free, and all you got to do is do it.
Yeah, I know. That's the more and more we get it down the road. I think commerce is done. I mean, look what Amazon Prime's done during the pandemic.
I know it.
Commerce will be done online, and it is our job as producers in sustainable beef to tell that story and get it out there.
Yep.
And it'll be tied to us that guy and let's just say Detroit, Michigan goes and buys a steak and pulls it out of there and says, wow, this came from there. All of a sudden we're tied together.
Well, yeah. And cooking videos are some of the biggest things on social media right now. I love watching it's like Sasquatch barbecue. I love watching that guy. He's just out in the woods somewhere with a skillet and meat, and how cool would it be if he can scan that QR code, trace it back to whatever, and tag that rancher in his in his cooking video. Yeah. And all of a sudden you got a rancher with 100 people following him. Now, just because he got tagged in a video is going to have 300-400 people go follow him just because of that. And guess what? They're going to be looking for that beef, and that's cool. I mean, like one of my sponsors of the show, Stetson Ranches. That's what they're doing, with the direct consumer deal, because they figured out they can't make it selling their calves to the feedlot, whoever. They can't make a go at it, but they can sell you the beef and set their own price, and make it work for them. And they got a kind of a picture book ranch up there in Fromberg, and they're using that to their advantage because people like to see that shit.
Yeah, they have a great social media presence. I know them too.
Yeah, they're great people too. And what better way to highlight it than just showing it? Like, just show what good people they are. That's the coolest thing I get to do is highlight cool people, good people like Kelly Martin that created Branded Denim Jeans. Like, she's just an old cowgirl, and she is a hoot. Like, the first time I ever talked to her, she was on a beer run, And and it's like these are our people. These people want to hear from them, and that shit sells. That stuff sells, and it's very valuable because there's substance to it. Mm-hmm. And we're people of substance here in the ag industry, and we've just got to do a better job of showing that.
Yeah. And we're a prideful group, and it's a small world at that. Mm-hmm. But what would make you more prideful than knowing that finally, you know, that guy in Topeka, Kansas is feeding his family with your steak? I mean, that'll rejuvenate you to new levels. And they enjoyed their experience, and they'll be back. And not only will he be back, he'll pay for it too.
Yeah.
We're figuring that out with our consumer. They will pay for that eating experience.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing.
I had somebody ask me the other day what Boots was like in person. And I said, well, he's humble, he's a gentleman, but he walks around like he owns the place, because he kind of does. And that's kind of the American rancher, like kind of summed up, is they walk around with confidence like they own the place, because they do own the place. But at the end of the day, they're very humble, prideful, but humble.
Yep.
And we just got to show that to people. And I don't know. I like solutions. I love debate just as much. Well, probably more than the average person. I love to debate, but I like solutions. Debate's fine, but you gotta the rubber's got to meet the road at some point. And I like what you guys are doing, Trey. You're welcome back anytime to give us updates. Thanks, whenever, just to shoot the shit or whatever. You got my support 100%. So
thanks, man. Thanks for having us on here. It solves a lot of problems in the industry, in my opinion, and without a handout. And it creates some packing capacity, which we dearly need, and it creates economic stimulus in a rural America. And there's a lot of issues that can be resolved if guys just get behind it. So thanks for your support.
It makes it a competition again, and we all love a good competition, because if there's an actual competition, somebody can win, and here's a chance where we can win.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that can win with this, a lot. And we're not gate sorting people. That we're just not going out and finding our investors. This is an invitation for all producers to get involved. There is no gate, and that's very rare too. So.
Yeah, it's I heard somewhere on another podcast that what we need is we need a meritocracy, but a high volume meritocracy. And so, like, the more people involved that have a chance to make it, that's the American dream. Is like nobody's given anything except a shot. Everybody has a shot, and it's what you do with it. And that's the whole idea of America. And that's our ancestors that founded this or settled, I guess, this western half of the U.S. They took risk, like they took the ultimate risk.
Yep.
And that's something we can still do. We don't have to. We're not fighting bands of Indians that are defending their homeland anymore, but we can still take a little bit of risk.
Yeah. They were given a shot and an opportunity, and they took it, and look what become of it.
Yeah.
How would it be to be 40 years down the road and say, look at sustainable beef, and look at the opportunity and the shot those guys had, and look what they did with it.
Yeah. I don't think Charlie Goodnight was real concerned about being canceled or woke or anything. He just he just started the cattle business. That's just what he did. And yeah, that's I think you guys are on the right track. It's just if the market's not there, create your own market.
Yep. Once again, we're not trying to take a piece of the pie. We're trying to just make the pie a little bit bigger.
Yep. Kate, you got anything you want to add or ask? Oh, you're on mute.
I think you guys covered it, but I think that it's super important that farmers and ranchers are waking up that I don't really think, we're not really in a capitalistic system. It's corporatism. Mm-hmm. And once we realize sort of and accept that we've been sort of taken advantage of and we've allowed this to happen, you take a deep breath, but then you realize that we're all incredibly innovative, skill. I mean, I think compared to the average sort of American population, farmers and ranchers have a ton of skills and ability, and we just have to sort of take our power back. And
Mm-hmm.
it we can't be lulled into this sort of victim mentality and just thinking it's so defeatist. I mean, I completely understand, and things have been screwed up, you know, post World War II for farmers and ranchers in America, and it's devastating. It's horrible, and I understand the mental health issues and losing. You know, we've really had a breakdown in our cultural system here. But what do you want to do? You know, I mean, you can sit back and watch America fall, or we can rise up and take it back. And one way we do that in a peaceful, compassionate, you know, Christ-like way is by building up our communities again and creating jobs and infrastructure. And this idea that we wait for government to do it, that's just a leftist communist idea. And you know, through that, we can do it. And I think that when people start having that change in mindset, they're going to stop trying to nip at each other's feet. Because that's one thing we've had a lot in New England where, and I completely understand how it's happened, but we become very suspicious and competitive with the farm down the road. And it's not about helping each other out with haying. It's like, fuck that guy, his tractor broke, he's an asshole, you know. And I think that once we realize that you're right, like the pie is endless. We're not taking a piece of it. It's huge. And we're one of the few industries that our neighbors need us to survive. Like people can't live without food, even if it's Bill Gates, you know, lab grown food. Everyone needs us, and that's a huge advantage. It's just a huge amount of stability that I think we have that we haven't taken advantage of. And I think we just need to have a little bit more faith that in each other and in the get away from the corporatism, because that's really what screwed us over. And you know, it's just really sad that it got that way, but we just have to take it back. And I think we can do it. I think we can adapt in sensible ways without losing the parts of rural traditions that we care about. Like having an Instagram account isn't going to probably ruin anything. You know, you don't have to be totally Amish, but you can still adapt in ways that make sense. And I think that we have to also rebuild some trust with consumers, which makes sense that that's lost because of the corporatism. I mean, if you've been buying shit from Walmart and you've lost faith in it because you realize that, you know, a lot of your canned ham is actually coming from China, you can understand why they have some questions about the food system now and some doubts in us as farmers and ranchers. And by telling our story, I think we can rebuild that pretty instantaneously. And I think most Americans want American meat.
Yeah.
And that's something that it's pretty incredible. I mean, most Americans don't really care about where their shoes come from. I mean, they might say it, but they're going to buy wherever Nike makes them.
Yeah.
But I think with the beef and chicken, and I think we have a huge opportunity.
Yeah, really, people don't care where their shoes come from. I saw a picture of a Klan member wearing Jordans. So, but I what I really like about this is you have solved RCAF's biggest complaint, USDA's biggest complaint, without going to the government to mandate it. You've got the country of origin labeling. You've got further than that. You have producer specific labeled beef, voluntarily, and you're gonna probably have your 50% cash cattle just out of necessity for you guys. It solves that issue on one plant. So like that, we didn't have to do anything through the government to do that. There was no legislation that had to be passed to do that. But on the flip side, you also said you've got a good relationship with your governor. That's something we should be looking more towards as our state and local government, because we can actually make real change there. you're not going to change the federal bureaucracy on your own. That's like, there's just too much there. But you can make a real difference at the state and local level, and that's where shit gets done. So hats off to you, man. I appreciate your time. And where can more people find out about you, I guess?
We've got a website, sustainablebeef.llc.com, and also we got a Facebook, Sustainable Beef LLC, and we post, we post daily. We've got a letter from the governor, and we've got local newspapers, and look us up. We'd love to talk to any producer that's excited and want to be involved and change. This is an opportunity for all of us, and like we said, we will not wait. I mean, we are breaking ground September 1, and it will all be tied up then. So the time is now.
Awesome. That's awesome, man. I'm excited for you. I look forward to hearing the progress and everything. And well, maybe I'll try to get some cattle together to be there January 2023. That'd be pretty cool.
We'd love to have you guys. Thanks for the support. It's important to get us out there and our name out there. So thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. And I guess you've listened to the podcast a few times, so sign us off if you don't mind.
Yep, absolutely. I will. I'll share it. We'll get it all over, and looking forward to it.
All right. Well, thanks again, and move your ass. We're burning daylight.
Yeah, guys.
See you, Trey.